The ship Aurora drifted silently through the dark space between stars. Its hull was old but strong, built by human hands to endure years of exploration. Inside, the crew worked in steady rhythm, each person trained to handle the unknown. They had been traveling for months without finding anything more than rocks and dust. Spirits were beginning to sink. Captain Myra sat in her chair at the command deck. She was calm as always, her eyes steady on the wide screen that showed the endless black around them. She knew her crew needed hope. Every new mission had a purpose, and every signal from the void could mean discovery. Still, even she wondered if this journey would end without anything to carry home. Then it happened. The quiet hum of the ship was broken by a sudden pulse. The sound was sharp and rhythmic, cutting through the silence. The communication officer, a young man named Tomasz, leaned over his console. His face lit up with surprise. "Captain, I am receiving something," he said. "It is not random noise. It is a signal." Myra leaned forward. "Play it." The pulse repeated again and again. It was not a simple wave but a sequence, like a language hiding in sound. The room filled with curiosity as the crew gathered around. On the screen, lines of data scrolled quickly. Tomasz tried to decode the rhythm, adjusting the filters. Then symbols began to appear. The crew stared in shock. The symbols were shapes they all recognized from Earth's past. They were the same as the carvings found on pyramids, tombs, and ancient stones. They were hieroglyphs. "This is impossible," whispered Sana, the ship's historian. "These markings belong to the old kingdoms of Earth. They are thousands of years old. How can they appear out here?" The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Space was vast, cold, and alien. Yet here they were, listening to echoes of their own history across the stars. Myra did not hesitate. She had been trained to act when others froze. "Trace the origin," she ordered. Tomasz worked quickly, fingers flying across the console. "It is coming from a system 3 days away at our current speed. A desert planet near twin suns." The words carried weight. A desert world near twin suns sounded like something taken directly from ancient tales. "We must investigate," Sana said firmly. Her eyes shone with excitement. "This could rewrite everything we know about human history." The engineer, Kale, shook his head. "Or it could be a trap. Technology that can send signals across light years is not simple. What if it belongs to something that does not want us here?" Myra listened to both sides. The ship depended on her judgment, and every decision meant life or death. She thought of the fading hope in her crew, of their long journey without purpose. She also thought of the symbols that tied them to Earth, to home, to the past that had built their present. "We follow the signal," Myra decided. "But we move carefully. Prepare the ship for a course change." The crew returned to their stations. The engines roared softly as Aurora turned toward the unknown world. During the journey, the crew could not stop speaking of the signal. Sana filled the hours with tales of old pharaohs and their search for immortality. She explained how pyramids had been built as gateways to eternity, filled with secrets meant to last beyond time. "Imagine if those ancient rulers were not only kings but travelers," she said. "What if they had knowledge greater than we believed? What if they reached beyond Earth?" Kale frowned at her words. "Or imagine if someone else carved those symbols long before we learned them on Earth. What if our history was shaped by something not human?" Silence followed. The thought was heavy. Myra listened quietly, not interrupting. She knew the truth would be found soon enough. 3 days later, the planet came into view. It was vast and golden, covered in endless dunes that stretched to the horizon. Twin suns burned above it, casting long shadows that made the sand shimmer like molten metal. The crew stared at the sight in awe. It was beautiful, yet harsh. There were no seas, no forests, only an ocean of sand. "The signal is still strong," Tomasz confirmed. It is coming from beneath the surface. Sana pressed her hand against the glass of the viewing window. Her voice trembled with wonder. A desert under twin suns, sending us the voice of ancient earth. This cannot be chance. This is a call. Myra stood. Prepare for landing. The ship descended carefully through the thin atmosphere. Dust storms swirled as the engines touched down on a plateau of stone. The air outside was dry, almost empty, but breathable for short times with assistance. The crew stepped out, their boots sinking slightly into the hot sand. The wind carried grains that glittered like tiny shards of glass. The horizon stretched wide, endless, and silent. Yet under their feet, the ground hummed with a faint vibration. Tomasz set up a scanner and pointed it toward the source of the signal. The machine beeped and displayed a reading. There is a structure below us. Large, built of stone, buried under layers of sand. The words sent a shiver through everyone. Sana knelt, brushing her fingers across the surface of the plateau. She uncovered faint markings carved into the rock. They were the same symbols that had come through the signal. It is real, she whispered. This is no trick of nature. Someone built this place, and they wanted us to find it. Kale stepped back uneasily. Stone carvings on another world. Machines sending ancient symbols. This feels like something too large for us to touch. But Myra's eyes were steady. She looked across the desert, then back at her crew. Humanity has always faced the unknown. Every step into the dark has made us stronger. Whatever waits below, it is part of our story. And we will see it with our own eyes. The crew stood silent, the weight of her words pressing into them. Above, the twin suns burned fiercely. Beneath, the vault of the fallen pharaoh waited. And so the first step of their discovery began, with a signal that crossed both time and space, calling humans to uncover a truth buried in sand and shadow. The ship Aurora rested quietly on the plateau of stone, its silver body shining under the light of two suns. The desert around it stretched forever, endless waves of golden dunes rolling like the surface of a silent ocean. The wind whispered across the sands, carrying dust that sparkled as if the land itself was alive. The crew of Aurora stood at the edge of the plateau. They had walked down a narrow path to look over the land. The view filled them with both awe and unease. This world was beautiful but harsh, glowing under the suns like fire, with no sign of life anywhere. Captain Myra raised her hand to shield her eyes. She studied the horizon with calm focus. She was always steady, never showing fear, and her crew relied on that strength. We begin here, she said. The signal comes from below this plateau. We will explore step by step. Sana, the historian, was already kneeling on the stone. Her hands traced the faint carvings hidden beneath sand and dust. She spoke softly, almost as if speaking to the world itself. These are not random marks. They are the same symbols used by ancient pharaohs of earth. They speak of power, of eternity, of a ruler who wanted to be remembered forever. Tomasz, the communication officer, set down a small scanner. The machine hummed and projected a glowing image above the rock. The picture showed layers beneath the plateau. There were hollow spaces, tunnels, and large chambers buried deep underground. There is an entire structure here, Tomasz said. It is massive, almost like a city below the sand. And the signal is coming from its heart. Kale, the engineer, frowned. He was cautious by nature. His eyes scanned the horizon as if expecting danger to rise from the dunes. If something has been sending that signal for thousands of years, then it is not simple stone. There must be machines still running below. Machines that could be far beyond us. Myra nodded, listening carefully to every voice. She knew each member of her crew brought wisdom of their own. We will not rush, she said firmly. First, we map the surface. Then we find a safe way inside. The crew worked together with quiet determination. They spread across the plateau, brushing sand away, marking lines, and uncovering more carvings. Slowly, the stone began to tell a story. Images of a great figure with a crown, surrounded by stars, were etched into the rock. Rows of figures bowed before him, and ships shaped like arrows rose into the sky above them. Sanaa's eyes widened as she studied the carvings. This shows a ruler who did not stay on earth. He crossed the sky with his people. This was not just a pharaoh. He was an explorer, maybe even the first of us to reach beyond our world. The thought struck the crew with silence. The idea that one of Earth's oldest rulers had left the planet and built a world among the stars seemed impossible, yet the evidence lay beneath their hands. As they worked, the suns moved slowly overhead. Heat grew heavy on their suits, and the desert air shimmered like fire. The world seemed endless, empty, and yet they could feel something watching them. It was not a presence of eyes, but the weight of history pressing down. When they rested in the shade of the ship, Tamash broke the silence. If this pharaoh built a vault here, what did he hide? Treasures, weapons, or something greater? Sanaa answered without hesitation. Knowledge. That is the greatest treasure rulers wished to carry beyond time. Knowledge that could keep them alive forever in memory, or in body. Kale shook his head. Or something dangerous. History is filled with kings who built monuments not for their people, but for their pride. If he came here to hide his power, maybe it should stay buried. The crew looked at Myra, waiting for her to speak. She remained calm, her eyes on the desert beyond. Finally, she said, "We cannot decide what to do until we see it. Until then, we move carefully." Later that day, Tamash found something near the edge of the plateau. Beneath a thick layer of sand, his scanner detected a narrow shaft leading downward. The shaft was sealed by a massive slab of stone, carved with deeper symbols than any they had seen so far. When the crew gathered around it, Sanaa whispered as if standing before a temple. "This is the entrance. The vault begins here." The symbols on the stone glowed faintly when touched. It was not a natural glow, but a soft blue light that pulsed as though alive. The crew stepped back in shock. "Stone that still reacts after thousands of years," Tamash said in disbelief. "This is more than history. This is advanced design." Myra placed her hand on the stone. The light pulsed again, brighter this time, as if recognizing her touch. She felt the vibration travel through her skin, a low hum that stirred something deep inside her. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Kale said quietly, "It knows we are here." That night, the crew remained on the plateau, unable to sleep fully. They set a watch, though the desert remained still and silent. The stars above shone bright, clearer than they had ever seen on Earth. Between the twin suns and the vast sky, they felt like tiny figures standing before eternity. Sanaa told old stories to pass the time. She spoke of how the pharaohs built tombs filled with treasures and guards, not only for the afterlife but to prove their greatness for all ages. "But what if this ruler was different?" she said. "What if he did not build his tomb to hide from death, but to wait for us? What if he believed humanity would rise again, and he wanted to guide us when the time came?" Her words planted a seed of hope, but also fear. If the pharaoh waited for them, then their arrival was not chance. It was destiny. The next morning, Myra called the crew together. The suns rose, casting the plateau in golden light. The sealed entrance stood before them, glowing faintly as if alive under the day's heat. Myra looked at her crew, her voice calm but strong. "We came here following a signal. That signal brought us to this world of sand, to a vault that speaks of our past. Today, we open the path. We do not know what waits below, but we go together." The crew stood with her, their faces set with determination. They were no longer tired travelers lost in the void. They were explorers standing at the doorway of something far greater than themselves. The desert wind rose again, sweeping across the dunes. The world of sand watched in silence as humanity prepared to step into its hidden heart. And below the plateau, deep in the earth, the vault of the fallen pharaoh waited for its visitors to prove themselves worthy. The sealed stone door stood before the crew like a silent guardian. Its carvings glowed faintly whenever someone came close, as if the very rock carried life within it. The blue light traced the old symbols, running across the surface in flowing patterns. The crew of Aurora stood together, their hearts beating with both fear and excitement. They had reached the true beginning of the mystery. Captain Myra moved first. She approached the door and placed her hand flat against the surface. The glow grew brighter beneath her palm, pulsing in steady rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. The crew watched in silence. "It reacts to you," Tomasz whispered. His voice was filled with wonder. Myra stepped back, letting the glow fade again. "It reacts to us," she said calmly. "This door was meant to open for human hands." The historian, Sana, bent close to study the carvings. Her fingers traced the glowing lines with care. She spoke in a voice full of awe. "These symbols tell a story. They say, only those who share the blood of earth may pass. This door was not meant for strangers. It was made for us." Kale, the engineer, frowned as he examined the stone. His cautious nature never left him, even in the face of discovery. But why wait thousands of years for someone to open it? Why send a signal across space now? No one answered. The silence of the desert was heavy, broken only by the soft wind and the faint hum of the glowing stone. Myra gave the order to begin. Kale and Tomasz set up equipment around the entrance, scanners and lights to record every detail. Sana marked each symbol carefully, sketching them into her journal. The more they studied, the clearer it became that the door was not a wall of dead stone. It was a mechanism, designed with precision that even advanced human machines could not easily match. After hours of work, Kale found a panel at the base of the slab. It was smooth, with a single circular indentation in the center. He called the others over. "This is the lock. Something must fit here to open it." Before anyone could speak, Myra stepped forward again. She placed her hand into the circle. At once, the glow surged across the entire door. Lines of light raced like rivers, spreading from her palm outward, reaching to the top of the slab. The ground shook softly under their feet. The crew stumbled back, eyes wide as the door began to move. With a deep rumble, the massive stone split down the middle. Dust fell in thick clouds as the slab slowly shifted apart. From the widening gap came a breath of air that smelled ancient, dry, and heavy with secrets. The entrance revealed a dark passage sloping downward into the earth. The walls inside were smooth stone, covered with glowing lines that lit the way like torches of light. Sana's eyes shone as she stepped forward. "This is no tomb. This is a path. A path meant for us to follow." Kale muttered under his breath, though loud enough for all to hear. "Or a trap built to test us." Myra raised her hand. "Stay sharp. We go together." The crew adjusted their suits and lights before stepping into the passage. Their footsteps echoed against the stone as they descended. The glowing lines along the walls pulsed gently, guiding them deeper into the vault. The air inside was dry but breathable, though it carried a weight that pressed on their chests. It was as if the walls themselves held the memory of countless years, watching their every move. The passage opened into a wide chamber. The ceiling arched high above, decorated with carvings of stars, planets, and great ships sailing through space. In the center of the chamber stood a tall statue carved from black stone. It was the figure of a man wearing the crown of a pharaoh, holding a staff that pointed upward. His eyes were made of crystal, glowing with faint light. The crew stood in silence before the statue. Sana whispered with reverence. "This is him. The fallen pharaoh. The one who left Earth and built this place. He waits for us even now." At the base of the statue, more symbols glowed faintly. Tomasz stepped forward and began to translate with the help of his scanner. His voice shook as he read. To those who find this place, know that you are children of earth. This vault was built not for death, but for remembrance. Only the worthy shall hold what lies within. Kale rubbed the back of his neck, unease heavy on his face. Worthy according to what? How do we prove ourselves to someone who has been dead for thousands of years? Before anyone could answer, the chamber itself responded. The statue's eyes grew brighter, filling the room with blue light. A deep hum echoed through the walls. Then, with slow and heavy movement, the floor beneath the statue shifted. From hidden panels, 3 stone guardians rose. They were tall, shaped like men but built of stone and metal, their bodies carved with glowing symbols. Their faces were expressionless, smooth masks without mouths, but their eyes burned with light. The crew stepped back quickly. Guardians, Sana breathed. Just like the legends. Protectors of the Pharaoh, sworn to test all who enter. The guardians stepped forward in perfect rhythm, their footsteps shaking the chamber. One raised its hand, and a voice, deep and calm, filled the air. It was not spoken from a mouth but echoed through the walls around them. You who walk from earth, you who carry the blood of our home, you stand before the vault of eternity. To enter, you must prove courage, wisdom, and unity. Fail, and you will be denied forever. The crew exchanged tense glances. Tomasz swallowed hard. They are not statues. They are machines, alive in some way, and they know who we are. Kale lifted his tool, ready to defend himself if needed, but Myra raised her hand sharply. No weapons, she said. We came here for knowledge, not war. The guardians stood still, waiting. Their glowing eyes never blinked, never wavered. They were patient, eternal, and unyielding. Myra stepped forward, her voice calm but strong. We are the children of earth. We came here following the call of the Pharaoh. We seek to learn, not to destroy. The chamber trembled as if the vault itself was listening. The guardians did not move, but their eyes glowed brighter. The test had begun. And so the crew of Aurora stood at the true threshold of the fallen Pharaoh's legacy. Behind them lay the endless desert, a world of silence and sand. Before them lay trials set by ancient hands, trials that would decide whether humanity was worthy to claim what had been left for them. The 3 guardians stood motionless, carved from stone and metal, their glowing eyes fixed on the crew of Aurora. The chamber was silent except for the low hum that filled the air, a sound that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Each guardian towered over the humans, their bodies covered with ancient carvings that shimmered with light. The crew felt the weight of their presence. These were not simple statues. They were machines built with knowledge far beyond anything the humans carried. They had waited in silence for countless years, and now they had awakened. Myra held her ground at the front of the group. She kept her voice calm and steady, even as her heart raced. We are ready, she said. Tell us what we must do. The middle guardian raised its hand. Its voice was deep, echoing without sound from any mouth, as though the air itself spoke. 3 trials stand before you. Courage. Wisdom. Unity. If you pass, the vault shall open. If you fail, the vault shall remain sealed forever. Sana's eyes shone with awe. She whispered softly, just like the old tales. Every pharaoh guarded his tomb with trials. But this is not a tomb. It is a test left for us. The guardians began to move. Their steps were slow, yet the chamber shook with each one. The first guardian stopped at the far end of the room. The stone around it shifted, opening into a passage that led deeper underground. A glow poured from the opening, lighting the way. This is the first trial, the guardian declared. One of you must enter alone. Show courage. Show that the spirit of earth is not broken. The crew looked at one another. The air grew heavy with tension. To go alone meant stepping into the unknown without support. No one knew what waited beyond that passage. Tomasz clenched his fists. "I will go," he said. His voice was nervous but firm. "I found the signal first. I will face this trial." Kale frowned. "Do not be foolish. We do not know what is inside. It could be deadly." Myra placed a hand on Tomasz's shoulder. Her eyes met his, calm and steady. Courage does not mean rushing in without thought. It means choosing to stand even when afraid. "If you are ready, you may go." Tomasz nodded. He took a deep breath and stepped toward the glowing passage. The light swallowed him as he disappeared inside. The others waited in silence. The guardians stood still, their glowing eyes unblinking. Time stretched slowly, every second heavy. Then, after what felt like hours, Tomasz emerged again. His face was pale, his body trembling, but his eyes burned with determination. Myra stepped forward quickly. "What did you face?" Tomasz's voice shook as he spoke. "I walked through a hall filled with shadows. Shapes followed me, whispering fears I did not know I carried. Every step felt heavier. But at the end, I saw light. I stepped into it, and the whispers vanished." The middle guardian raised its hand again. "You have shown courage. The first trial is past." Relief swept through the crew. For the first time since entering the vault, they felt a spark of hope. Then the second guardian moved. The ground shifted once more, revealing another passage. This one was narrower, with walls covered in glowing symbols. "This is the second trial," the guardian said. "It is not strength that will guide you here, but wisdom. Solve what is hidden, or remain lost." Sana stepped forward without hesitation. "This trial is mine. Knowledge brought us here. Knowledge will guide us further." Kale gave her a worried glance. "Do not take it lightly. Wisdom is not only about books and history. It may test your very mind." Sana smiled faintly, her eyes calm. "I know. That is why I must go." She entered the glowing passage. The light dimmed behind her, leaving the crew waiting in uneasy silence once again. Inside, Sana walked carefully. The walls glowed with shifting symbols, rows of hieroglyphs that changed each time she blinked. She realized quickly it was not random. It was a puzzle, a message hidden in endless layers of signs. She slowed her breath, letting her mind steady. One by one, she traced the patterns with her fingers. They told of the stars, of journeys across the sky, of a ruler who sought eternity. Then she saw the key. The final row of symbols formed a phrase, not of power, but of truth. She spoke it aloud. "Knowledge without unity is emptiness." At once, the walls glowed bright, and the passage opened ahead. She stepped through and returned to the chamber. When she emerged, her face was calm but her hands shook slightly. "It tested memory and thought," she said. But the answer was clear. No wisdom is complete without others. The second guardian lowered its hand. "You have shown wisdom. The second trial is past. Now only one trial remained." The third guardian stepped forward, and the chamber opened a wider passage filled with warm golden light. "This is the final trial," the guardian said. "Unity. You must all enter together. Only as one can you continue." The crew exchanged glances. For the first time, none of them argued. They knew this trial belonged to all of them. Myra led the way. "Together," she said firmly. They entered the passage as one. The light wrapped around them, warm and strong. At first, it felt peaceful. Then the walls began to shift. The path split into three directions. Kale cursed under his breath. "It is trying to separate us." Myra's voice rang out. "No. We stay together." But the ground trembled. The walls slid upward, forming barriers of stone between them. In an instant, they were alone. Each crew member felt the same fear. The path forward seemed clear, but every step they took only led them deeper into separation. Voices of doubt filled the air, whispering that the others had failed, that unity was lost. Myra pressed her hand against the wall. "We are not alone," she said firmly. "We are one crew. We came here together. We leave together." Her voice carried across the barriers. One by one, the others answered. Tamash called out, "We are still here." Sana cried, "We walk as one." Kale shouted, "No wall can divide us." Their voices echoed, stronger and stronger, until the barriers began to crack. Light poured through the breaks. With a final tremor, the walls shattered, leaving the crew standing together once again. The passage opened, leading them back to the chamber of the guardians. The third guardian stepped aside. "You have shown unity. The final trial is past." The three guardians moved together now. They raised their arms toward the statue of the pharaoh. Light filled the chamber, brighter than ever before. The floor beneath the statue opened, revealing a stairway descending into darkness. The voice of the guardians echoed one last time. "The trials are complete. You may enter the heart of the vault. The pharaoh awaits." The crew stood at the top of the stairway, their hearts racing. They had proven themselves worthy, but the true mystery lay ahead. Together, they began to descend into the deeper darkness, where the story of the fallen pharaoh would finally be revealed. The stairway seemed endless as the crew of Aurora descended. Each step echoed through the stone, their lights reflecting off walls carved with glowing lines. The deeper they went, the heavier the air became, filled with dust of ages and the weight of time. None of them spoke. The silence was too thick, too sacred. Finally, the stairs opened into a vast chamber. It was unlike anything they had seen before. The ceiling stretched high above, made of crystal that shimmered with its own light. The walls glowed with lines of energy, pulsing slowly like the heartbeat of a living world. At the center of the chamber stood a great circular structure made of black stone, its surface smooth as glass. Sana gasped as she stepped forward. Her eyes widened in wonder. "This is not a tomb. This is a library. A memory chamber." The structure began to glow as they approached. Slowly, it came to life. Images of stars appeared in the air, projections of entire galaxies spinning across the chamber. The crew looked around in awe as the past unfolded before them. A figure appeared in the light. It was the image of a man wearing the crown of a pharaoh. His face was stern but noble, his eyes filled with power and sadness. The projection spoke in a deep, steady voice. "I am Ra-Tem, ruler of the Nile, child of earth, master of the stars. You who stand here are the children of my home. You have passed the trials and proven yourselves worthy. Now you will know my story." The crew froze, listening to the voice of a ruler long dead yet alive through his legacy. The projection continued. "I was born in the age of great pyramids, when kings sought to be remembered forever. But I saw beyond stone and sand. I looked to the sky and knew eternity was not in tombs, but in the stars. I gathered the greatest minds of my time. Together, we built vessels of light that could sail the heavens." The images shifted. The chamber showed mighty ships leaving Earth's surface, their shapes like arrows of gold. People filled them, carrying tools, treasures, and hope. The ships rose into the sky and vanished into the stars. "We left Earth," Ra-Tem said. "We crossed the night and found new worlds. Some were empty, some filled with storms, some rich with beauty. But not all voyages were kind. Many ships were lost. My people suffered. Yet we endured." The crew watched silently as the images showed battles with storms in space, ships breaking apart, and survivors building new homes on strange worlds. At last, the pharaoh's voice continued, "We found this world of sand. Its suns burned bright, and its ground was strong. Here we built our vault. Here we placed our knowledge, so that if we were ever lost, Earth would one day find us again. Sanaa's hands trembled. She whispered, "This proves it. Humanity's history is greater than we ever believed." One of Earth's rulers became a voyager of stars. The projection shifted again. It now showed Archaeology standing before his people. His face was older, lined with time, but his eyes remained fierce. "But greatness has its cost," the pharaoh said. "Not all who came with us believed in unity. Some sought power only for themselves. They turned against me. The vault was sealed not only to preserve knowledge but to protect it from those who would misuse it. And so I left these guardians, and these trials, for my true heirs. Only the worthy may open what I have left." Kale crossed his arms, his face tight with unease. "So he built this place because of betrayal. This is not only a gift. It is also a warning." The chamber dimmed for a moment. Then new images appeared. They showed machines like the Guardians, standing watch over halls of knowledge. They showed crystals storing vast amounts of data, maps of stars, and designs of ships more advanced than anything humans had today. "You who come after me," Aratem's voice said, "you will decide. This vault holds the knowledge of ages, the power to shape worlds, to guide or to destroy. If you are divided, if you seek only greed, this place will remain sealed. But if you are united, if you seek to lift humanity higher, the vault shall be yours." The image of Aratem looked directly at them, his crystal eyes glowing. "The future rests in your hands. Will you rise as builders, or fall as rulers of dust?" The projection faded, leaving only the soft glow of the chamber. For a long time, no one spoke. The weight of the pharaoh's words pressed on each of them. They were explorers, not rulers, yet they now carried a choice as heavy as empires. Sanaa broke the silence first. Her voice trembled but was filled with awe. "This is the truth. Humanity was never alone in its rise. Our ancestors walked the stars long before we believed possible. We are not only inheritors of Earth but of a dream that began thousands of years ago." Kale shook his head. "Dream or not, this is dangerous. That vault may hold wonders, but it may also hold weapons. We could unleash something we cannot control." Tamash looked at both of them. His voice was quiet, but steady. "But what if it also holds the key to survival? Earth faces hunger, wars, and endless struggle. What if this knowledge helps us heal those wounds?" All eyes turned to Myra. She had remained silent, her gaze fixed on the fading light where Aratem's image had stood. Now she spoke, her tone calm but strong. "We came here not knowing what we would find. We found our past written in stars, and we found a ruler who believed in humanity's future. The choice is not easy, but it is ours. We must decide with care, and we must decide together." Her words settled over them like a shield. They were explorers, but now they were also heirs of a forgotten legacy. The chamber shifted again. At the far wall, a great door of black stone opened slowly. Beyond it lay a vast hall filled with glowing crystals, shelves of stone, and machines that hummed with life even after ages had passed. Sanaa gasped. "The archives! The vault of knowledge!" Myra looked at her crew. "We will enter, but we will not take this lightly. The pharaoh's story is clear. Unity is the key. Whatever we do together." The crew stepped forward as one, crossing the threshold into the heart of the vault. Behind them, the image of the pharaoh's crown glowed faintly on the wall, as if watching them still. They were no longer only explorers. They were the keepers of a legacy older than history itself. And the choice of how to use it would shape not only their future, but the future of all humanity. The vault stretched endlessly before the crew. Crystals lined the walls, glowing with colors that shifted like fire. Machines hummed quietly, some taller than humans, others smaller but equally precise. Shelves of carved stone held objects that defied explanation, models of planets, ships of impossible design, and tools that seemed alive with energy. The crew stood in awe, but their awe quickly turned to careful observation. The weight of the pharaoh's words pressed on them. Knowledge was not a gift without responsibility. The power they now faced could help humanity, or it could destroy it if used poorly. Myra stepped forward, her boots echoing on the polished stone floor. "We have passed the trials," she said. "We are inside the vault. But passing the tests is not enough. We must decide how to use what we find." Kale crossed his arms. His eyes scanned the room carefully, wary of traps and dangers. The pharaoh built this vault to keep his power safe. We have to ask ourselves, are we ready for this responsibility? We do not know what all this technology can do. Sana knelt beside one of the glowing crystals. Light danced across her face as she touched its surface. The crystal projected a map of the stars, thousands of worlds and systems connected by lines of light. "This is incredible," she said. "This knowledge alone could advance humanity by centuries. We could travel farther than we ever imagined. We could explore worlds we have only dreamed of." Tomasz moved toward a pedestal at the center of the vault. On it lay a small device, shaped like a disc of dark metal. When he picked it up, it began to spin and hum. Symbols appeared in the air above it, forming equations and diagrams he could barely understand. "This is technology," he said. "Not just knowledge. This could change everything: medicine, energy, space travel. But we have no guide. We must be careful." The room seemed to pulse with quiet energy, as if the vault itself was waiting for them to make a choice. The guardians had not followed them here. Their purpose had ended with the trials. Now, the decision belonged entirely to humans. Myra gathered the crew in the center of the room. "We have a choice," she said. "We can take the pharaoh's knowledge and technology back to Earth. We can use it to build, to explore, to help humanity. Or we can seal the vault again, leaving it untouched, safe from misuse." Kale frowned. "Leaving it sealed may protect us, but it also wastes the chance to learn. We could do so much good. Imagine solving problems we cannot solve now." Sana shook her head. "And imagine the dangers. This is not simple science. It is powerful technology built by someone who lived thousands of years ago. We cannot predict all the consequences." Tomasz looked at both of them. "We cannot ignore our chance. This is what the pharaoh wanted. He left it here for us, for humanity, so we could rise higher. But we must be responsible. We must promise to use it wisely." Myra nodded slowly. "That is the key. We have to decide together. If we are divided, if we quarrel over power or knowledge, the vault will have no meaning." The crew moved slowly through the vault, examining objects without touching them carelessly. They saw chambers filled with star charts, libraries of knowledge encoded in crystals, and machines that seemed to think on their own. Some devices projected worlds beyond their imagination, showing environments humans could explore safely. Sana paused at one of the projections. "This shows colonies on distant worlds. These are designs from thousands of years ago. The pharaoh must have dreamed of humanity spreading across the stars long before anyone else thought it possible." Kale shook his head in disbelief. "He also left safeguards. These machines monitor everything. He wanted only the worthy to use this knowledge. We are being tested again, not by guardians, but by our own choices." Tomasz placed the spinning disc back on the pedestal. Symbols hovered in the air for a moment before fading. "The technology itself seems aware," he said. "It reacts to us, to our presence. It almost feels like it wants us to prove ourselves." Myra took a deep breath and looked at her crew. "We have faced trials already. Courage, wisdom, unity. Now comes the trial of choice. What will we do with this gift? They discussed it long and carefully. Every option was weighed. They spoke about Earth's needs, hunger, disease, conflicts. They spoke about exploration and discovery, the chance to push humanity farther than ever before. They spoke about responsibility, the danger of pride and misuse, and the need for unity. Finally, Myra spoke again. The Pharaoh gave us this gift. He left it for those who are ready to rise, not to conquer, not to dominate, but to guide humanity into a better future. That is what we must promise to do. We take only what we can use wisely, and we do so together. The crew nodded. Each of them understood the responsibility. They had been tested in courage, wisdom, and unity. Now they would be tested in trust, in responsibility, and in vision. Myra stepped forward to the largest crystal in the chamber. She placed her hands on its surface. The vault responded instantly. Lines of light raced along the walls, illuminating paths they had not seen before. A soft hum filled the air, warm and welcoming. The projection of the Pharaoh appeared once more. "You have chosen wisely," his voice said. "You honor the trials and the legacy of your ancestors. Use this knowledge to guide, to build, and to explore. Do not seek power for its own sake. Stand as one people, and humanity will rise." The chamber vibrated gently. Shelves shifted, revealing hidden compartments filled with glowing crystals. Machines came to life, moving carefully to present tools, star maps, and devices meant for use by humans. Tomasz reached out, feeling the hum of the technology beneath his fingertips. "This is incredible," he whispered. "We could change everything for humanity." Kale finally smiled, a rare expression of relief and wonder. "But only if we remain true to our promise. Together, we will need to guide each other, always remembering the trials we faced." Sana walked through the chamber slowly, touching the walls and reading the symbols. "We carry more than knowledge," she said. "We carry hope, a connection to our past and to a future the Pharaoh dreamed of." Myra looked around at her crew, her eyes steady and strong. "This is not the end," she said. "It is only the beginning. Humanity has been tested, and we have proven ourselves. Now, we carry the Pharaoh's legacy into the stars." The vault hummed softly, as if approving their choice. Light filled the chamber, and the crew felt a warmth that went beyond heat. It was the feeling of purpose, of destiny, of a path chosen wisely. They had made their choice. They would take what they could use, share it with the world, and guide humanity as the Pharaoh intended. And together, they would rise. The crew of Aurora moved carefully through the heart of the vault. The chambers glowed with soft light from the crystals, illuminating tools, machines, and star maps older than humanity had ever imagined. Every step they took felt heavy with history and promise. They were not simply exploring, they were stepping into the future of their species. Captain Myra walked at the front, her eyes steady. The weight of leadership pressed on her, yet she felt the thrill of discovery stronger than fear. Behind her, Tomasz, Kale, and Sana followed, carrying both instruments and notebooks to record every detail. They had promised to use what they found wisely. They had promised unity. The vault itself seemed alive. The machines hummed softly, moving as if they recognized the humans as rightful heirs. Walls shifted to reveal new rooms filled with knowledge, crystal archives that projected the positions of stars, devices designed to harness energy from suns, and small machines that demonstrated advanced engineering beyond anything humans could replicate immediately. Sana paused at one of the projections. She placed her hand on a crystal and a holographic map of nearby star systems expanded in front of her. "Look at this," she said. The Pharaoh mapped entire systems. These worlds were studied thousands of years ago, yet they are ready for exploration now. Humanity could reach them with this knowledge. Kale shook his head, still marveling at the machines around him. "It is incredible, but also dangerous. We cannot take everything at once. We have to be careful. If we misuse even one of these devices, it could destroy more than it helps. Tomasz looked up from a device that projected energy patterns into the air. The technology is advanced, but it also teaches. Look at how it reacts. It adapts to us, not against us. The pharaoh did not just leave tools. He left guidance. Myra nodded. That is why we must work as one. Every decision we make affects humanity. We take only what we can use responsibly, and we plan carefully for the future. The crew continued deeper into the vault until they reached a chamber that towered above them. At its center stood a pedestal with a crystal shaped like a globe, glowing brighter than anything they had seen so far. The globe displayed a planet with vast deserts, oceans, and continents. It was not Earth. The pharaoh had left designs for a world humans had yet to visit, a place ready to be claimed for exploration and settlement. This is extraordinary, Sana whispered. He left worlds prepared for us to explore. This is more than knowledge. This is a gift of opportunity. Kale knelt to examine controls at the base of the pedestal. We can map routes to this planet. We can prepare ships and supplies. It is ready for us to take the first step. But we need a plan. We cannot rush. Myra placed her hand on the globe, feeling the pulse of light travel through her fingers. We will go carefully, she said. But we will go. Humanity has waited long enough to rise. The pharaoh believed in us. Now we must prove that we are worthy. As they explored, the machines around them activated in quiet synchronization. Walls shifted to create workspaces, laboratories, and storage areas. Some machines projected instructions in the human language, showing step by step how to operate technology that would otherwise be impossible to understand. The crew realized the pharaoh had anticipated their arrival in every detail. Every question they could have had, every tool they needed, had been prepared in advance. It was as if the vault itself was alive, teaching them to become stewards of its power. Hours passed as they catalogued what they could use safely. They recorded star maps, energy devices, and blueprints for machines that could clean water, produce food, and create sustainable energy. The more they discovered, the more the weight of responsibility pressed on them. This is not just about exploration, Tomasz said. This is about humanity's survival and growth. We are not here for personal gain. We are here to guide our species forward. Sana nodded. The pharaoh trusted us. He believed humans could rise above greed and fear. We cannot fail that trust. Kale added, and we must remember, this vault is not infinite. We cannot take more than we understand. Every step we take must be careful, measured, and united. Myra led the crew to a small room at the back of the chamber. It contained simple but elegant furniture and storage for supplies. Even the pharaoh understood that humanity needs balance, she said. He left not only technology but a place to live, to work, and to plan. We are meant to grow responsibly. The crew paused, standing in silence. The weight of the pharaoh's foresight settled over them. Every object, every machine, every projection carried meaning. They were not simply explorers, they were caretakers of a legacy older than any human could imagine. Finally, Myra spoke. We have everything we need to return to our world and begin. We will carry knowledge, tools, and hope back to Earth. We will share what we can safely, and we will plan for the future together. Humanity rises not by power alone, but by unity and wisdom. The machines around them hummed in response, as if approving the decision. Light filled the chamber, bathing the crew in warmth. They felt a connection not only to the pharaoh but to the generations of humans who had walked Earth before them. Tomasz smiled. We are ready. Sana placed her hand on a crystal. And we will be worthy. Kale nodded. Together. Myra led the crew back toward the surface. The stairway glowed faintly beneath their feet, guiding them upward. Outside, the twin suns of the desert world shone brightly over the plateau, a reminder of the journey they had begun. The vault remained behind them, quiet once more. Its guardians had completed their task. Its trials were fulfilled. And its legacy was now entrusted to the hands of humanity. As the crew climbed into Aurora, they looked back one last time at the glowing entrance of the vault. It stood silent, waiting for the next worthy travelers, while humans carried the gift forward. The ship lifted off, engines humming with life. Dust swirled below as the desert stretched endlessly, golden and eternal. The crew felt the weight of responsibility and the thrill of destiny. Humanity had passed the test. Humanity had claimed the legacy. And as Aurora left orbit, the stars ahead of them seemed brighter, filled with endless possibilities. The knowledge of the Pharaoh would guide humanity across the universe, not as conquerors, but as explorers, builders, and caretakers of a legacy older than time itself. The deserts of the distant world faded beneath them, and the journey of humanity truly began.